Hi, and welcome to another episode of my YouTube series on AWS using CDK TypeScript. My name is Faruk, and today I will be guiding you through sending emails with AWS SES. So before we move on to the agenda, if you're not subscribed yet, please consider to like and subscribe because it really helps out my channel. Let's move on to what we're going to discuss today. So on the agenda today, we have first comparing the different services for sending emails on AWS. Then we will have a look at the different kind of emails that we can send and why use one of them. We will design an email. You don't have to do this, but I will go through an easy way to design a nice email for it. Then we will create our AWS stack and deploy it, of course. And once we've deployed our stack, we will send an email to see how it looks. So with that, let's move on to the first part, which is comparing the different AWS services. And first off is the SES, of course, which we'll be using. And SES stands for Simple Email Service. And this is very cost efficient email service because you don't have a GUI. So in other words, you cannot log in somewhere to see your inbox. But it's just an email service that you can use for both sending and receiving emails. And you can, for example, put them in a S3 bucket or whatever you want to do with them after you receive an email. So SES is also the service that we will be using in this episode. Then next to that, there's also SNS, which is a simple notification service. And simple notification service is like a subscription on a topic. So once you're subscribed, you will get all the emails or events that will be sent to that topic. And you can also unsubscribe, but also for SNS, you can use SES features to send customized emails. So it's not what we're going to use today. And final service that you could also use. So let's say you don't want to send lots of emails, you only send a couple emails. You also want to have an inbox that you can check both on the mobile and on the browser. Then I would say you would go for Workmail. Workmail is just a full-on email service. You can have an interface where you can see the inbox that you have, send emails from there. So it's just a full-on email service. Then let's go on to the different kind of emails that you can actually send with SES and when to use which one. So there are three different kinds of emails that you can send with SES. And first one is just a simple, and simple is just a standard email. You can have two different inputs for the simple. You can just have a text. So if you just want to send some text, you can just add some text. But you can also add HTML and customize and create an email that you want yourself, for example, with your brand on it and stuff like that. Then simple does let you send emails, but it does not send. It does not allow to have attachments. So if you do want to have attachments, then we get to the second option, which is a raw email. And a raw email is a bit different than a standard email. As for a standard email, you only need to add either your text or your HTML. In a raw email, you're actually writing it in MIME format. That's a special email format. And then you can attach your emails as well. So you can have attachments on your email as well. So, but this is a bit different. It's also a bit harder. So you need to know how MIME is correctly formatted. I've done it before, but it's not a very nice way to do it. But if you do need attachments, that's the way to go. And then finally, you can of course send HTML with simple emails. But let's say that you only need to replace a name and maybe an account number or anything like that. So you only have little detail and not much changes of an email. So actually you want to send a template. So then you create a template, and a template can have placeholders in it. And these placeholders can get values when you send it. So you give it values, and then each of the placeholders will be replaced with this value. So let's say that it's a different name every time and it's a different account ID, but most of the text is the same. Maybe the amount is different. Then you can just create a template and then pass on the values that you want to send the template with those placeholders replaced. So that is the three options that we have to send emails. In this episode, we will not be using templates and we will also not be using the raw ones. So we'll be sending a simple email. We will be sending an HTML email. So with that, let's move on to the next part. And there I will show how to easily design an email. To design an email in HTML, there are a couple websites that you can go to, but I'm going to go to Design Modo, and I'm not being sponsored by Design Modo, but it's just an easy website where you can design an email. And after we design it, we're going to export that email and we're going to use it in our AWS SES. So I already made an account here, but if you don't have an account, you can make an account for free. Once again, I'm not being sponsored by them, so it's free. You can just use it. I already created an email. I will show it to you in a bit, but if you're going to create a new email, what are we going to do? So we're going to go to create a new project. Then we have this empty thing. And now we can just drag some stuff into this place. And what we have here will be our email. So here we have some options. So you can add a menu. So let's say we want to add this. And we want to have e-commerce transactional thing. So we add some stuff for didn't complete the purchase. And let's end with the footer with some logos and stuff. So we have an email real quick. I do want to point some things out. So if you're going to use images, like this is an image here, this image will not always be available if you're sending it with your own image. So do note that you want to change the images. And maybe not so obvious is the images here. So here you have, for example, your Facebook icon and your X icon and your Instagram icon. And so they're being hosted currently on Design Modo. But if Design Modo would, for example, restrict access and you send this email, your customers will not see it. So what I advise is if you're going to use images, for example, your logo, you're going to use some icons, put them in an S3 bucket with read access to public, and then you can put them there and they will always be available. So you have own control of your images, and it's just a bit nicer to not use the storage of them if if you're not a customer there. Another thing I want to point out is that each of these things have a link. So if we, for example, click on, so we have a link here. Wait, I'm not seeing it here. Yeah. So if we open this link, we can add a URL here. And by adding this URL, if you click on that icon, you will go to, for example, your Facebook account. So if you're done setting everything up, and I do want to emphasize that you're done setting everything up, you can export it by going to export and then copy the email code. But do note that once you've made your changes and you export your code, you can do that, I think, 5 times. And after 5 times, you need to upgrade your subscription. As you can see, I've reached the limit of exporting and I need to upgrade my subscription. So first design your entire email, make sure that everything is all right. You can always change the links and stuff in HTML later yourself, but it is nice to just drag and drop some stuff in and immediately be able to use that. So this would be something around like what I'm gonna deploy, and which you can also deploy, of course. But if you want to have something else, you can redesign it here. But this maybe shows also why we're going to use the HTML version. I'm going to use something like this. But I'm not gonna. Let's say that we're gonna do an order confirmation. But we're going to have a dynamic number of products. So we don't know how many products we're going to have, but we just want to show all of the products. So what I'm going to do is get this thing out and make a dynamic loop over the products that we're receiving. And then we're going to print out for each of the products one of these HTML objects, and each of product will have one. So if you have 10 products, you will get a list of 10 products here. If you have a single product, you will get a single product here. So we will do that with HTML and configure that in a Lambda. But I also wanted to show a different email template. So let's have a look at this email template. In this email template, if you look what will be different for each customer, it's easy to see that we have an order ID here, we have a name, we have a track and trace ID, and we have a sending address. And each of these are actually pretty dynamic in where they are, pretty static in where they stay. The only thing is that the value for it will be changing. So this email would be would be a great example to use as a template for. You just put a placeholder for the order ID for each of these things, and then you can have this one as a template. And whenever you want to send this email, you only need to give in the values that you want to do, and of course the template name that you want to send. And if you cannot read what's written here, it's written in Dutch, so so that is not your eyes. But so this would be a great template because we have very few changing values, and there's nothing that would be dynamically created. So we don't have X amount of objects of something. It's always the same email, just some different values inside of the email. So this would be a template. And for this one, what we're going to create here, we're going to do it a bit dynamically. And why? Because we want each of the products to be in the email. And we cannot easily do that with templates. And if you can, maybe leave it in the comments. Now I'll look at it as well. But for now, that's what we're going to do. And like I said, I'm not being sponsored by DesignModo. So what I always do is remove this part here. It's just a little div at the end of your HTML file. And I'm sorry that DesignModo, but like I said, I'm not being sponsored. So if you are completely done and you have your emails, you can have maybe multiple emails, but do note you can only export 5 times before you have to upgrade. And if you do really like it, maybe do upgrade, but that's up to you. I got one of my emails and I exported it, and now let's continue to the AWS stack that we're going to create, where we'll be using what we exported here. I opened up a directory where I want to create my CDK stack, and I opened it in VS Code, and here I'm going to create my stack. So CDK init. So I'm gonna wait for a second, and then we will have our CDK template installed. And like always, I will make some changes here. So new folder, call it types.ts, and I will create another one, props.ts. And just like in previous videos, I will just copy and paste some stuff, and I will go through it as we make it. So I'm going to create a couple types, and let's go through the types that we're creating. So first I'm going to create an interface for the products. Product will have a product ID, it will have a title, it will have a quantity, so how many of this product are we buying, and what's the price for this product. Then next to that we will have details, and details will have an order ID, it will have a subtotal, it will have a shipping cost. So the order ID, so the order will also have total cost, and we'll have a shipping address, and possibly we will have a billing address. If there's no billing address, then we'll just use the shipping address. So this is for the Lambda. We'll use that later. And this as well. So this is the iEmail event. This is the event that our Lambda will receive. And it extends the ID detail interface. So meaning we will have all of these values in there, and these will be additionally added in the iEmail event. So it will have all of these and these, and we will iterate over the orders, and in the orders we're expecting an object with an ID title and so on. So then let's move on to the stack props. So this is all for our Lambda, this part. And the I confirmation is also for the Lambda. So all of this is for the Lambda code. And then we have also an interface for our CDK stack. And that one we are calling AWS SES sender stack props, which will extend the stack props. And just like here we are extending it, all it means is that it will have all of the properties that are in stack props, and additionally we will put these values in there. So what are we putting in there? We're putting in a role name for the IAM role that we're going to create for sending emails. We're going to have a managed policy name because we're going to use a managed policy for the IAM role for sending SES. And we're going to have a couple of policy statements. And finally, we will have, like I said, a Lambda, and that Lambda will have a function name, and we'll have an entry. And you can add additional props if you want, but to keep it simple, this is all I will be adding. Then in the props, we need to populate all of these values. So I will be adding a role name, which will be SES sender role. I will be giving it full access, and you can always restrict it to less access. And I'm gonna give the Lambda some permissions for creating a log, so I can see the logs in the event logs. And we're gonna give it the name and the entry. So we're saying there should be a directory called source, and in there we'll have an index.ts. So let's quickly also make that source. And then here I will create a new file, index.ts, and I always make another directory, utils. So this will house our Lambda code in a bit, and before we do that, let's first create actually the infrastructure. So here we'll also make a couple changes. Currently are importing only the CDK, but we need a couple additional things. So we will be using IAM, we will be using Lambda, and yeah, I will be using Node.js Lambda, just it's the habit. But if you're using Node modules, always use the Node.js one. If you don't use Node modules, you can use just the Lambda, but it will not it will not have your Node modules included. So if you do use Node.js, then the Node.js Lambda is the better choice. We also import the stack props that we just created, which will have our IAM username, function name, the entry of the Lambda, and so on. So once we have this, let's create first the IAM role. And for creating the IAM role, we're going to do it really simple. Oh, we also need to replace the standard stack props with the props that we just created. So then we're going to say IAM. We're creating a new IAM role. This is the scope. We have the construct name. It's only valid inside of the CDK stack. We're going to pass in the role name, and then we're going to allow the Lambda to assume this role. So once we have this, we're going to add the managed policy, which was the full permissions, if I say it correctly. Let me quickly check. full access. So we have full access here. So, but we also, of course, need to add some policies for the CloudWatch logs, and that we will add here. So I will say all resources, but you should restrict it if you're doing this in a production environment. But this will contain the policy actions, and in our case, that's logs, create a log group, create a log group stream, and put a log event. So it will be able to log all the console logs that we have in the code. So with this, we have a role. That role has the permissions to do the SES commands. And once again, if you want to restrict it, you can also not use the managed policy, but add more specific policies. Then I'm adding a couple policies to allow it to write the logs. And this will be a very short stack because the only thing left now is to add our Lambda function. And our Lambda function will be responsible for sending out the emails. So like I said, I'm going to use a Node.js function, but I'm not really using any extra modules, just a habit of mine. So we're going to give it, like the other one, is the scope, a construct name. We have a function name that we can put in here. So props.function name. Then also let's put the entry in there, props.function entry. So the handler will just be called handler. You can allocate some memory size. I put 1 MB, but you can also put less. So 250 or 512 is also good. I give it a timeout for 60 seconds, and we're gonna run in the Node.js latest. But do note that if you put it on latest, every time that you redeploy, if the Node version would change, it will be also changed to the latest. And finally, we're adding the role that we created. So we add the role that is allowed to send the SES emails. We add it to our Lambda. And with that, for now, the infrastructure is done. But what I do have to add is that I will be using a custom domain. And if you're using SES, it's very important actually. Maybe let's quickly have a look at the console. Because in the console, when you have SES for the first time and you haven't used it before, then you don't have the access, so you will not be able to send emails out, and you have to get an identity. As you can see, I already have an identity here, which is my domain, and I will be using this domain to send emails from. If I click on it, you can see that I've already verified everything and also added a custom from domain, meaning that my emails will be sent from this no reply at poketrainer.nl. Also, I've added the the DKIM. This just for verifying that your email has not been altered. So both of these can be activated. You don't have to do it. If you're not doing it, that means that if you only send emails, for example, to your own email, then you can add your email just here, adding your email. You can also do it in code with the custom resource, and then you can only send emails to yourself. But if you want to send emails to other people, you have to first enable. As you can see, production access is granted here, but it won't be granted to you if you're using this for the first time, meaning that you will have to send a request defining what you're going to use it for, how many emails are you going to send, what does your email look like. So you're going to answer a couple questions, and after answering these questions, the AWS service team will approve it or not based on what you're provided. And then you will be able to send emails also to non-verified identities. So at first, once again, you can only send emails to emails that are verified in your account. So to do that, if you don't want to only send it to your emails that you own here, like I said, you have to first request access, and once you have done that, you can use it to send it to everyone. So I've already done it, so I won't go through that in this video, but if you do want to also have a tutorial on that one, maybe leave it down in the comments and I will go through setting up your own domain with all of that stuff. But for now, if you don't have it all set up, just add your own email here. After adding it, you have to confirm it, and after it's confirmed, you can send emails to that verified identity. So pardon me. So that's one thing. So once you have that done, let's quickly switch over and go back to the code. So in the code, we have our stack now, but we don't have our Lambda code. So let's move on to our Lambda code. And in our Lambda code, let's quickly add some code. But before I'm gonna add the final code, I'm gonna add some utility functions. And this is where the code that we just copied from the email HTML comes into place. And I did something that you don't need to do, but I will quickly go over what I did. So I took my HTML code and I took out the upper part and the lower part, and I called this email wrapper. And I have a function called email wrapper. And why do I do this? I was planning on maybe sending multiple emails, and I want them to have the same headers and the same footers. I just want the content to change. So that's why I first created a function called email wrapper, and I just pasted in the HTML code that we just copied from Design Modo. And I have an input variable here, and if we go scrolling, you can see that I'm just injecting that input variable here. And besides that, it's just the HTML code that was copied. And I also took out what was in between, of course, and that currently is put here. And like I said, I made a function, and that function will do a couple things. So we have a confirmation email, it will get some input, it will get iConfirmation, and iConfirmation had an array with products, and we will have a product list. So this product list, as you can see, it ends at line 63, starts here. It's also just a bunch of HTML code, so it's one HTML block, as you can say, and it holds a title, it holds a product ID, it holds the quantity, and it holds the price. So what this eventually will look like is just a block with an image on the left side, and well, I don't know, I don't think I have an image in this one, but it will be a title, an ID, a price, and so on. And then we have our, the core of the email. As you can see, it's a table. And if you're no pro in HTML, then maybe it's a bit harder to follow this, but as you can put it in the online viewer, or you can also have it on a live session here with the HTML, you can just copy out the HTML and make changes and directly see what's going on. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the order ID in here, and then I have another order ID there, I have a date here, and we have the shipping here, and we have a billing here, and then we have a product list. So after we have the product list, we're gonna put in all the HTML in here. It's an array, of course, and then we're gonna join it in the HTML as a string. And we have the subtotal and the total price with shipping cost and total price. So all this is just, it looks very long, but yeah, this is mostly just the copy that we just made at Design Modo, and at certain locations where we were seeing, for example, the price and the name and the order ID inside of the email, we just replaced them with these placeholders, which we can populate once we have an event. So after we have an email wrapper and a confirmation email, both of these combine into a single email. So for example, if I would like now different emails, I can still use the email wrapper and eventually add multiple emails. So that's why I split it like this. You don't have to do it like this. You can just have one file and paste it in. But I thought if I use multiple emails, I don't want to have the email wrapper multiple times. So then we end up at the code. And for the code, it's also not too long. We're gonna import a couple things. So we're gonna import the SES v2 client, the send email command, and the send command input. And of course, we have to install the SDK. So npme SDK. And with that, we have access to SDK. We're importing the email wrapper that we just added here. Then we're adding the confirmation email that we added here. So these two combine into an email. And now let's add the code to actually send the email out. So we're going to define our handler, it's async handler, just like any Lambda. Then we're going to do some lazy loading. That's also actually not necessary for this demo, but well, if you're going to send multiple emails, it's nice to do this, as it will not create a new client every time when reoccurring events come. Then I'm gonna create the date and format that into my Dutch format that I'm used to, and add that into the email. And we're creating a send email command here. And the send email command will have a from email address, and here I will be adding my own address. And once again, if you don't have your custom domain, add it and verify it and edit your DNS records. You cannot use this. So if not, you will be using just the AWS standard email output from address. So don't add this if you don't have it, because it will not match. Then you have to add the destination, and it will be a to address. So you can also add multiple addresses, just like a normal email. We will add some email tags. You don't need to add it, but I just add the order confirmation tag. Reply to address, which I will be adding as now reply at poketrainer.nl. Then we will add the content. And like I said, in the content you can add different things, but we will add a simple one, and the subject is required there. It will be the subject that has been added to the email itself. And then we will define a body, and the body, as I mentioned before, in a simple email can be either HTML or it can just be text. And if it's HTML, we define the char set, of course, and the data will just be a string of the HTML text that we had in the other files. But we created a function for that, so we're creating an email wrapper and confirmation email, and we're adding the event details in there. So once we receive an email event here, we will expect an order ID to be in it, the date we will generate inside of the Lambda. We expect the event to have a shipping object and maybe a billing object, or else it will also be the same as shipping. We expect an order, which will be products, and some price data. So we will all pass this all on to the confirmation email, and there we place all of these in the location that we want to have them to be displayed in our email. And if we have done that, then we need to make a final couple of changes. First, let's go to the types and get email event. And this is the email, this is the Lambda event that we're expecting. So let's import it here. Yeah. Then also here we need to replace the stack props because we are expecting some things. Let's also inject them here. So we'll replace the object with the stack props and close that off. So we have this one ready, and then let's see, this is all good. We have everything here. I think everything is ready to deploy. So let's do CDK diff. Oh, we're still missing one dependency. npm ES build. And ES build is used to compile the Lambda code and the dependencies for the Node.js Lambda that we're using. So we installed that now. I'm going to do another CDK diff. And then we see that we're going to deploy a couple things. So we're going to have a role with assume role permissions. It's also going to have permissions on all resources to create a log group, create a log stream, and also put a log event. Then there's an IAM policy change for this role, so the SES sender role. And another couple things, we see that we are going to create Lambda as well. And yeah, that looks good. So let's deploy it. CDK deploy. Yeah. So the deployment of the stack was successful. Let's head over to the console and check out our Lambda function and try to send an email with it. So I'm gonna switch over. Okay, so this is the console. I'm gonna go to our Lambda function and we just put in the name SES sender function. So this is the function that we deployed. Let's use test because we can just add an event here. And this is the event that we're expecting. So it will have an order ID, to have a subtotal, shipping cost, total cost, shipping address. So we're not adding billing, so we're expecting 2 times the same address. We'll have a receiver and an order. And like I said, the order will contain multiple objects, and each of these objects will have an ID, a title, quantity, and a price. And we have 1, 2, and 3 accordingly to their positions there. And we're going to send this. So we're going to expect to receive an email that has all of these values in it, and it will have 3 HTML blocks for the products and the quantity and prices all added there. So let's try this out by hitting the test button. Okay, so we can see we have a successful execution, so no errors. Then I'm gonna head over to my email, and here we are expecting to get an email in a second. So I see that we got an email, and I always have to confirm that I want to download the images. So that's only for me, but as you can see, I have the logo here. The order ID has been entered. We have the date, order number, and what's the order number 2 that we were entering? Let me quickly check. Yeah. So we'll test order ID 2, and the address was test address 234 somewhere. So that's also here. And as you can see, we have 3 different blocks for the products. Each of the blocks has a different quantity, and it has a price. And in the end, everything gets added to each other, and we have the end of the total price, including the text for the government. But so that's the email for now. And I already see that maybe I should add a little bit for the styling here, but that's another thing. It's just in the HTML. As you can see, we sent an email, and here you can also see, because I'm using a custom, well, it's very small in your display, but you can see that the name of the from is Poker Trainer, and subject is your order has been confirmed, and accordingly I'm getting everything right here. I'm receiving it also here from Poker Trainer and no reply at pokertrainer.nl. And once again, if you don't have your own custom domain set up, it will be the AWS from sender. And once again, we have a subject, or the email subject there. And that's it. We created an email very easily. So even if you're not very proficient in HTML, you can easily design a HTML template, and then we will create, you can create a Lambda and then send emails. And if you want to have it be able to send emails to all of your customers, first go to the console and unlock your account. So it goes out of the sandbox environment into production, and then you will be able to send emails to everyone. But if you don't have that, you can only send it to verified identities. So is that the issue that you have? Please add your email that you want to add, or either get your account out of the sandbox. With that, we came to the end of the session. So I want to thank everyone for watching. If you have any questions or you have any requests, please leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until the next time.